Good morning and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Johanna Dunlevy. I am the Wellness Manager for EFR, and I also host our podcast Emotion Well, which I'll share a little bit more about at the very end today. My background is in worksite wellness, and over the years, I've done a variety of presentations and programs on stress. One thing that I'm trying to move away from when I talk to people about stress is the term stress management. So this is entirely a personal preference. You may visit another EFR colleague, or you may attend a different EFR webinar and you may hear stress management thrown around, and that's okay. This is just my personal preference. I'm trying hard to move away from that phrasing and wording because I don't think that stress management sounds very friendly or inviting. It doesn't sound like something that you would even want to address because when you think about it in life, we have a lot of things that we have to manage, whether it's a family, your kid's schedule, other people at work. So managing stress just seems to be one more thing that would cause stress. So I might slip up and say it, but my goal is to not refer to any kind of stress education as stress management. Instead, let's think about reframing stress, viewing it from a different perspective, a different lens. So today we're going to be discussing two very important and common feelings, that being stress and burnout. And so I can guarantee, everyone listening can say, yes, I've experienced stress. Many people don't ever reach burnout. Burnout would be end stage stress, and we would want to prevent that if possible. So hopefully what you learned today will help you lessen stress, reduce stress, and prevent burnout. So to kind of kick us off, I want you to remember to be realistic. It is certainly not realistic to eliminate all stress. We actually need some stress in life. The fight or flight response is a stress response that has kept us alive and evolving over time. So some stress is good. What is realistic is to hopefully lessen stress. So as we explore stress today, I want you to keep that in mind. I'm not suggesting or encouraging that all stress be eliminated or removed, but rather what can you do with your life today or the foreseeable future that can hopefully reduce stress? So to kind of get you thinking along those lines, I want you to consider what you do when your check engine light goes off in your car. And so just like I can guarantee everyone has experienced stress in life, I also know that if you've ever owned a car, this has probably happened to you. You're driving down the highway or you go to start it in the morning and there's a light on your dash. And what do? Well, there are some different options. The first would be to just completely ignore it. Maybe you just drive away anyway, or you continue driving. Maybe you stop driving, you pull over. Perhaps you look into what is causing the light to be on in the first place. You perhaps ask someone to help you fix the issue. Most people aren't, knowledgeable to the extent that a mechanic would be, right? So maybe you ask a professional for help. Maybe you think about, how can I prevent this issue from happening again? Maybe you end up spending a lot of money fixing the issue. So when your check engine light is illuminated on your dash, what do you do? So think about that. And maybe your check engine light is on right now. So I know you're probably wondering, why are we talking about cars? This is kind of weird, but trust me, I'm going to be making a connection here shortly. So when we think about it, our cars in many ways are kind of like our bodies. We know when something's wrong with our car because it's either not running efficiently, maybe it's not running at all, it's just acting a little funny. Oftentimes we kind of dread knowing what the diagnosis is going to be when we take it into the mechanic, and really our bodies are very similar. So I want you to think about, what is your check engine light? So what is your indication that something is wrong? What is your indication that something needs to be reset or looked into? And so I've listed here several different options. Of course, you may have a check engine light that is not listed here, but for me, I notice when I'm really stressed, I have a decreased appetite, I tend to have heightened anxiety, and I also feel like my body is just holding tension in a lot more places. And so I physically don't feel well, I'm not eating as much. My heightened anxiety often interrupts my ability to get a good night's rest. So what's your check engine light? It could be any one of these things listed. or it could be something that's not listed. But these are some of the more common kind of stress responses that you may experience to whatever is causing stress in your life. And so what do you do when your check engine light turns on? So, in a car, you might do one thing. You might ignore it. You might keep driving. You might investigate it. When it's your own body or your mind, what do you do? So you have options, right? You have options to ignore the feelings. You power through or push through, just kind of, I'm sure it's something, but probably not anything too big. Maybe you stop what you're doing, take a time out. Perhaps you explore your feelings or the feelings that you're experiencing. You can ask for your help, and I've kind of made a little note that oftentimes your EAP can be the first and best place to turn when you're experiencing stress and you're experiencing something kind of different, whether you're feeling it physically or emotionally. We're here for you. And then, do you take measures to prevent the issue or the feelings from happening again? So like your car, you have options. So what is stress? I'm going to do a high-level overview just because, with the time we have today and just the amount of information I think people already have about stress, I don't want to get too granular here, but stress is basically the body's reaction to change. It could be a change in someone's own body, it could be a change in their mind or the environment around them. It can be positive or negative. So oftentimes we experience stress or we hear about stress and we associate it with a pretty negative life event or negative life circumstances, but it certainly can be positive if you are in a position where you're starting a new job. Maybe you've been accepted into a professional degree program, medical school, law school, maybe you're getting married, maybe you're expanding your family. All of those are changes that happen in your environment. Maybe there's a change to your body, but most often they're associated with positive feelings of joy, but sometimes those positive stressors kind of get overlooked. So remember, it can be positive or negative. It can be short-term or long-term. The thing that we want to avoid is long-term chronic stress, because what happens is whenever we are under stress, we do have that fight or flight response. So our body goes into the stress response, and a short-term stressor might be, let's say you're out for a walk and you're getting ready to cross the street and all of a sudden you see a car coming and you have to just jump up onto the curb, or you have to, run away from the car so you don't get hit. Okay, that, the fight or flight response, was activated. It was activated to help move you to safety quickly. But within a few minutes, that rush of adrenaline that you felt in the moment, maybe the shakiness, is gone and your body returns to homeostasis. With long-term or chronic stress, what happens is things like traffic jams and constantly running late or asking your kids to do this or that, for the 10th time, starts to create that stress response, but it becomes chronic and then you stay in that fight or flight for longer than you need to. And that's where we experience health issues. Stress can be felt physically, mentally, and emotionally. And oftentimes you feel it maybe initially emotionally, but then over time physically. Sometimes it's a combination of everything at once. As I mentioned, over the years, I've done a lot of seminars and trainings on stress, and I wanted to come up with something unique that could help people remember what their options were. And so I noticed that as I was listing out all the different ways that you can, address your stress, many of them started with the letter A. So then I came up with this A+ stress approach. And the first is simply to acknowledge the stressor. So you're acknowledging that, hey, my check engine light went on, but you're also acknowledging it's because of, and then insert whatever is causing the stress. So it might be, hey, I've noticed that I've not been eating very much lately, and that's pretty unusual. And it's because I'm feeling stressed out over this upcoming presentation I have to give at work. Or it might be, hey, I've noticed that I've been really irritable with my kids lately, and it's because I'm really struggling to find a good work-life blend or integration during the COVID situation. So you acknowledge that something's not feeling right, and then you acknowledge what it is that's causing that. And then you can explore your options. So I always say, can you accept it? Can you adapt to it? Can you alter it? Can you avoid it? Can you ask for help? So can you accept the stressor? Let's talk about COVID, since, even though it seems like a long time ago that we started, talking about COVID, and when COVID came into our lives, it's still present, and it still is causing a lot of stress and disruption for people because there's so much unknown and uncertainty surrounding it. So let's think about that. Are we able to accept that life has changed, at least in the immediate future? And maybe that will help us kind of level our expectations. Can we adapt to it? I think many people have adapted, and it's hard. Adapting is really hard because we're so used to doing things a certain way. And you also think that the way you do it should be the way everyone else does it. So can you adapt, and can you adapt to other people and their adaptations? So think about, are you working differently? Are you parenting differently? Are you shopping differently? Are you wearing a mask? Are you reducing your contact with family or friends? So adapting. Altering, can you do anything to alter the circumstances? So think about maybe altering the amount of information you receive, alter your reaction to other people's decisions, especially if they're unlike your own. And then, is there a way to avoid it? Well, you probably can't avoid a pandemic, but are you able to avoid, again, places that make you feel uncomfortable, certain people that aren't, bringing you up or helping you at least feel better emotionally? And then, can you ask for help? Are there ways you can ask for help? So I always like to share something personal when I do presentations, and I'll share a little story that I'm guessing many of you can relate to. From earlier this summer, I, of course, working from home, and I'm working from home with my daughter who's 3.5. And so if you're, listening and you can relate to that, whether you have one small child or several small children, or you have children that are older but still, in the same space as you, it's really challenging. And, as I was preparing for this presentation, I thought, well, if trying to work from home with a small child is not like the fastest ticket to burnout, I don't know what is. But a couple of months ago, I was feeling a lot of stress just kind of in my personal life, and then trying to, manage work. And I realized that we were running low on groceries. For a while there, I wasn't taking my daughter to any grocery stores. I was trying to do all of my errands when she was being cared for by someone else. And so I wasn't able to get to the grocery store that day, but I knew we needed to. And I was kind of feeling the stress of, do I just take her? What do I do? What do we do? And so then I just decided, well, I could order groceries online. And for some of you, you're thinking, well, why wouldn't you have done that initially? Well, I like going grocery shopping during, especially the months of March and April and May. The grocery store was like the only place I went. And so it was kind of like the one place I got to go and, excuse me, do my thing. I also like to have control. I like to have control over the food I'm picking out, the produce I'm picking out. And so in asking for help, I had to let go of some control. I had to admit that I needed help, but in the end, it worked out really, really well. So thanks to Instacart, my day turned around pretty quickly, and I had at least a little less stress. So again, I made an adaptation. I asked for help. I just avoided having to do it on my own. So what in your life can be remedied as easily as that? Now, we've kind of scratched the surface on stress, but again, I think we all know enough about stress that was just kind of a good review. Let's talk about burnout. I think there's less information about burnout, and this is the end stage of stress that we want to really avoid. So burnout is pretty much a reaction to prolonged or chronic personal or occupational stress, and it's characterized by 3 dimensions: exhaustion, cynicism, and feelings of reduced ability. And so think about that. Are you feeling that way? Are you feeling exhausted, cynical, feeling like you really can no longer keep up with the things that you need to keep up with. And, if you answer yes, then it's likely that you're experiencing some burnout. And you're not alone, because a lot of people have reached this stage. To help kind of capture burnout, I came across this comic a few years ago, and so I use it in a lot of my presentations. But you see there's a guy there, it says stressed Eric, so he's just kind of looking at the camera like, oh, what's going on? Caught me off guard, got too much going on, can't really sit still for this photo. And then burnt out Eric was too tired to pose for the cartoon. Apologies. So stressed is you can still show up. Burnt out is you may not be able to even show up. So let's kind of compare and contrast stress and burnout. So for both, it can be physical and emotional, so felt or experienced both physically and emotionally. With stress, think of being overengaged, and with burnout, think of being disengaged. With stress, it's overreactive emotions, so you get really annoyed. You're just, you come to work and you get all these emails and you get really annoyed, and maybe you have, like a little bout of anxiety because maybe you missed a meeting or you think you're going to miss something. With burnout, it's kind of the opposite. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, that again. It's blunted emotions. So stress, you're still feeling a lot of emotions, and they're almost, hypersensitive. With burnout, it's more blunted. Stress, there's more of a sense of urgency and hyperactivity. With burnout, it's more of a feeling of helplessness. There's a loss of energy with stress, and there's a lack of motivation with burnout. So I'm trying to think of a way to kind of put this in an example that might be helpful for you. So with stress, you may get to the end of your workday and you always enjoy, going for a walk after work once, you kind of finish your day. But man, it was just a really stressful day at work. I'm just, I don't think I have the energy for that. With burnout, it's like you don't have the energy, but you also have no motivation. You've kind of disengaged from what you once enjoyed. Stress is a feeling of too much. I've got too much to do. There's too much going on. Burnout is a feeling of not enough. I just don't have enough to get through. I don't think I have enough to keep going. So we'll talk about occupational burnout and personal burnout. And what causes occupational burnout? This is a listing of, very common reasons why someone could feel burned out occupationally. So a little control over work or decisions, lack of recognition, unclear expectations, monotonous, unchallenging work, high pressure environments. And then I bolded the working without breaks because it's really important to take some kind of a break each day. Our bodies actually work in what's called ultradian rhythms. So you've probably heard of and are familiar with the circadian rhythm. Well, the circadian rhythm is our sleep-wake cycle. The ultradian rhythm is kind of our work-rest cycle. And so research, has shown that every 90 minutes to 2 hours, you got to get up and do something different, move around, take a 10-minute break, switch projects, do something to kind of give yourself a mental refresh, to give your body some physical movement. So working without breaks, while it might seem like, the ticket to getting your work done the fastest, it's probably not the ticket to getting your work done the most efficiently and effectively. So making sure to take breaks. If you're a leader or a manager and you're watching this right now, look at that list and think about your employees or your team members. How can you help them? How can you help them prevent occupational burnout? Personal burnout, when you think about the COVID situation, lack of social opportunities for, at least a few months, and some people are still really abiding by the social distancing, kind of an isolation concepts that, if you have lack of social opportunities, that can cause personal burnout. If you feel as though you have very few supportive relationships, again, can cause burnout. Feeling like you have little time to relax, being overcommitted, not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're, not giving yourself a break even when you need to be giving yourself a break for rest, or experiencing lack of help from others. So I bolded a couple. I bolded overcommitment and lack of help from others because I think that oftentimes we bring on a lot of our stress because we say yes to too many things. There's a little saying that I like to share whenever I deliver a stress seminar, and it's When you say yes, do you say yes to stress? So think about that. And then lack of help from others. I also want you to think about it from this perspective. If you are fortunate enough to have people in your life that can help you and will help you, take advantage of that, and don't take advantage of it in a way that you're taking advantage of them, but take advantage of the fact that someone wants to help you or can help you. Many people live in communities where they don't have family. They live in communities where they don't have a good social support group, and they don't really have a lot of people to ask for help. So if you have those resources available, you can use them and should use them. So what should we do to combat burnout? Set realistic expectations. As I kind of kicked off this presentation, if we think that a stress-free life is possible, you're probably going to have stress because that's just not possible. So realistic expectations, maintain open channels of communication with the people you work with, the people that you are living with, the people that are kind of nearest and dearest to you. Managing your energy, eliminating or delegating. I think when it comes to managing energy, one, you have to be very mindful about what your energy level is and kind of where you want to allocate it. And then I also think about that in regard to the people that you spend a lot of your time with. Are those people giving you energy or are they draining you of energy? Especially when it's people like friends. Are they bringing you up or are they bringing you down? And then eliminating or delegating. I think that for many people, the COVID situation has put busyness into a perspective that maybe they wouldn't have had the opportunity to explore prior, because our society kind of values the go, go, go lifestyle, and that you've got a job and you've got a family and you've got all of these commitments and you're constantly on the go and you're checking into places, and it's good to check into all these places. And then all of a sudden that changed, and people, I think initially were kind of like, whoa, this is kind of boring. I don't have anything to do. And then now I think people have kind of reached a point where they're understanding or maybe seeing a little more clearly that that's actually not a bad thing to have eliminated a few things from our plates or delegated some things. So what is your silver lining when it comes to the COVID situation? Because I think there's always a silver lining. It just might take a while to see it. Exercise, getting your body moving. It could be in something as short as 10-minute increments, right? So it doesn't have to be a big commitment. Resting and then unplugging. So unplugging to recharge. We do a seminar called Unplugged here at EFR, and it's really about the benefits of unplugging to just really kind of do a digital detox. So we're so connected to our devices because they really kind of, they're like man's best friend, right? So it's like everything you need is in your device, and the thought of being without it is frightening for many people. But you don't have to always be connected. So you can unplug from work on a lunch break. You can unplug from work after work. You can do maybe a social media cleanse. You can monitor your digital diet or your media diet, your media consumption, just like you would monitor the food that you put into your body. So think about that when you unplug a little bit. Self-care is not selfish. A lot of times people think, well, if I'm going to take care of myself first, then I'm certainly going to be a selfish person because I'm letting other people wait for me, or I'm putting them last, and that's not the case. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. And so especially if you are a caretaker for small children, you really need to find time for self-care. And it could be, like I said, 10 minutes can make a big difference. So self-care is not selfish. Feeling stressed, remember to stop what you're doing, move away from the stressor, stop what you're doing. Take a deep breath, and I'm just going to ask you to take a deep breath right now, or maybe a couple deep breaths, because it's probably been a while since you really focused on your breath. So deep breath in, exhale, observe how you feel. Take a moment to be mindful, and then proceed to a supportive measure. So that supportive measure could be, I'm going to walk away from this conversation. I'm going to step away from this email. I'm going to just go for a 5-minute loop around my neighborhood or around my office space. I'm going to do something that's going to help me. And then the other thing when it comes to taking deep breaths that I want to reference, because my daughter, like I said, is 3.5, and so we watch a lot of Daniel Tiger. So this is for all the parents out there who will definitely get this and hopefully bring a smile to your face. When you feel so mad and you want to roar, take a deep breath and count to 4. So Daniel Tiger, he's always full of great advice. And it's true though, when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or mad and you want to roar, whatever that looks like for you, take a deep breath and, count to 4. So thanks to Daniel Tiger. Also, taking a personal power down or powering off, when you think about it, anytime you're having a tech issue, the first thing the IT or the help desk person is going to say is, have you tried turning it off and then turning it on again? And sometimes that really does do the trick. So what about when you're feeling like you're overheating, when you are really on the verge of losing it, can you take a personal power down? It can be something as short as a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a big timeout. Don't forget that you have a lot of EAP benefits that you can explore. These are available for you and anyone in your household. You can call us 24/7. We always answer with licensed clinicians on the other line. So the person you speak with is going to be qualified to help you. We do in-person or telehealth counseling right now. We have a variety of legal, financial, elder care resources that are available through the phone. This might be a good time in your life to explore life coaching. Maybe you're just trying to do more with the time you have, so time management. Maybe you're wanting to improve communication skills or do some career planning. Call us. We can provide some life coaching for you. We're also a great place to turn when you need help. So don't forget that ask for help or assistance, when it comes to that A+ stress approach. Like I said, I'm the host of our podcast, Emotion Well. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and at efr.org/emotionwell. We wrapped up season 1 and season 2 will be back this fall. We have a lot of great episodes coming your way, but we also have a lot of great episodes in our library. So please check that out. And again, help join in the conversation on social media. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, visit our website. And remember, life happens and we are here to help.